of people died young in ancient Rome. And part of this was because there was a lot of really bad food. And part of it was because of the doctors. Because you see, in ancient Rome, to be a doctor, all you had to do was walk up to a sick person and say, "Hi, I'm a doctor." That's it. If you were really conscientious and wanted to really help heal people, what you would do is you would apprentice yourself to another doctor for 2 weeks. So you would start your practice way out in the provinces somewhere and leave this trail of dead bodies as you learned your craft before you set up your shingle of being a doctor in ancient Rome. Now, a favorite game that children used to play is that they would capture dormice in the villa, and they would beg a bit of string off of the weaving women, and they would make a little harness for this mouse, and they would construct a little lightweight chariot. And then you would wait until your parents had really important dinner guests coming over. And once they entered the atrium, you let loose with a chariot race to see how many could get caught up in everybody's togas and stolas and whatnot. Now, your parents played this game as a child as well. And so they would have a slave stationed at the other end of the atrium, and the slave would catch the dormice. He would take them down to the kitchen, where they would be stuffed with pork and pine kernels and then served to you for dinner that night. Now, the Romans bathed on a daily basis. And one of the most common bequests that a wealthy person would make in their will is that they would leave money to the baths in the poorer sections of town so that the baths would be free to the poor. The Romans had this concept that if you bathed, you could help keep disease down, which really worked, of course. Now, when you went to the baths, you took a slave with you, because that slave is going to stay in the changing room. Because when you undress and you put your clothes in a cubbyhole, that slave is going to stand there and make sure nobody steals your clothes. Because bathhouse thieves were very, very common, which left many a person scurrying home with a towel wrapped around them. If the bathhouse would loan you a towel, many times they would not, and so you had to scurry home completely naked. The man of the house also had certain duties that he had to do. And one of those duties is, after he got up in the morning and got dressed, was to approach the lanarium, pull the curtains back from the household gods, light the lamp, and burn some incense, and give thanks that no death had crossed the threshold that night, that no disease had entered the house that night, that no disaster had befallen the family. And in this lanarium, as I said, were the busts of the ancestors. Now, this is how you learned history in ancient Rome. You learned what your family did. There was no general history taught. So if you have a great deal of generals in your background, you're going to learn a lot of military history. If your family are grape growers, you're going to learn Great Uncle Scaurus' secret recipe for keeping the mold off of the grapes. But you're going to learn what your family did. The other thing that the man would do first thing in the morning after he made his prayers is he would approach the front door. He would wave incense around the threshold of the door, and he would ritually open the door for the first time, making prayers that no death or disease would cross that threshold into their household.